that too, though. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Capitalist Corner. I'm your host, Mark Pellegrino, also the chairman of the American Capitalist Party, along with my co-host and the vice chair of the American Capitalist Party. Digging the new background there, Michael Liebowitz. Look at that. Adverting the party, even though we do not claim to represent the party's perspective in all of our news items today, just our own opinions. We are advertising the American Capitalist Party, which you can find on AmericanCapitalistParty.org. I suggest you go there, read our platform, donate, become a part of the change, folks. People are sick of the two-party establishment. They're sick of statism. They want to be free individuals again. Also, Michael is the host of The Rational Egoist. I suggest that you watch that on a daily basis if you can, because you got a lot of shows to catch up to if you're just coming into it. Michael, anything new that you? I think you announced some shows.
Well, right now we still have the episode out with Megan Ribbons. It's really good. And then Thursday we should have coming out an episode with an economist, and it's all about Frederic Bastiat, the great French political philosopher and economist and politician.
And if you have not read The Law, for everybody out there looking for a book recommendation, I know Michael has recommended it, stole that from me, so I had to recommend a bunch of other books, but it is a great book. One of the things I love about The Law is it's sort of like, Bastiat is sort of like Thomas Paine. It translates into modern times, right? If you're reading the Federalist Papers, that's dense stuff. I mean, you know, the guys in the 18th century wrote rather dense prose. But guys like Paine are eminently readable today. Guys like Bastiat, eminently readable today. Don't you think?
I do think so. Absolutely. His economics books, also economic sophisms, and I can't remember what the other one is, but they're both very good.
So they are very good. So I didn't have time to find my contact lenses today, so I'm wearing my Lou Wasserman glasses today in honor of old Hollywood folks. I apologize if you can't see my eyes behind these massive frames. Look, Michael, of course, sent me 1,000 articles again today, so I had to get through all of those this morning. One of the reasons why I could not find my contact lenses. But I wanted to start off with a tweet you sent me that really hit home for me personally, because as many of you know, I'm a contentious fighter and debater on the platform X, formerly known as Twitter. And at a certain point, I decided this is a toxic atmosphere and I don't want to be on it anymore. And for about 2 months, I restricted my online interactions to, maybe once a week. I was doing great. It felt fantastic to be away from all that toxicity. I was able to get so much work done and feel so happy and free. And then something happened, October 7th, and the war in Israel started this obsessive campaign on the part of some left-wingers, some communists, pro-Palestinian bots, and many pro-Palestinian people out there, and a propaganda wave of anti-Israel sentiment and anti-Semitism that I had to get back in the fight. So I blame October 7th for my renewed engagement in the toxicity of social media. But I happen to agree with this guy, Han Shaughnessy.
It's his real name, from what I understand.
Is it really?
No.
Is that a joke?
No, of course it's a joke.
Okay.
I was joking.
Well, you joked too well.
Do you know what that reminds me of? This is the craziest thing. Do you know that the word gullible is not actually a word? All my life, I thought it was a word. It's not even a word. It's not even in the dictionary.
Get out of here.
You have your phone with you?
You're screwing with me. I do have my phone with me, but I'm on something else. So what? Just give me the footnote.
No, because I was going to tell you, you can check. You can verify what I'm saying. Everybody in the audience.
Not even in a colloquial dictionary.
It's just not in the dictionary. It's not real. It's not a real word.
I disagree with you.
Well, look it up and you can see. I mean, there's no sense.
Since you completely screwed with my sense of trust over the Han Shaughnessy thing and actually made me believe that the pseudonym was real for 5.5 milliseconds, I'm not going to believe anything you say from this point forward. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Anyway, All right.
I want to see somebody in the audience will look it up and tell us about.
We'll discuss it later. We'll discuss it later because right now I got to read this guy's tweet because
get to the tweet.
Because it was my. Don't rush me. It was my sentiment. All right. So this is what Han Shaughnessy says. Before October 7th, I barely talked about Israel. I've always loved and supported Israel, but I was focused on American politics and domestic issues. Yay! I would say I was the same, and even though the level of toxicity was pretty rank there. He continues, then something changed with the discourse. Influencers, pundits, and commentators started making entire careers out of obsessively speaking about Israel and pushing deranged conspiracy theories about it while complaining that they were somehow not allowed to talk about Israel. I mean, that is just classic psychopathy. It started before October 7th, but the trickles turned into hurricane waves after the massacre. They say that we're the ones obsessed with Israel, that we're not loyal to America, but in reality, we're just responding to them. I wish I could stop posting about Israel, as do I. It's not my country. Agreed. My country is America. Also agreed. I'd love to revert my focus back to domestic policy. That would be fantastic because we certainly have a lot of drama, given the articles you've given me, with respect to domestic policy. But when you're obsessively demonizing Israel, when it's at the forefront of fighting Islamic terrorism, you bet your ass I'm going to respond. Same, Mr. Shaughnessy. It works both ways. If you stop talking about Israel, I will too. But if you continue your deranged obsession, I will always be there to offer a defense. You can't complain that we talk so much about Israel when all you ever do is talk about Israel and the Jews. That, I have to tell you, there are some tweets, that come out and they are almost like a drug. A drug that relieves chronic pain. You know what I'm talking about? I don't want to say this is the equivalent of OxyContin.
I was going to say, is it the OxyContin of tweets?
This was the OxyContin of tweets. One, because you get to, you need to be mirrored by people, right? When you're like us, you are against the tribes and tend to feel isolated and alone, and social media is a perfect place to make you feel that way. You need an incredibly strong constitution to deal with that. And it's easy. It's not easy to deal with, but you deal with it. But it's nice when you see somebody mirror your own consciousness, mirror your own sense of what's good, right? That might actually touch on an article that you sent with Psychology Today earlier. What do you think about this? I mean, I agree with this guy. It's the crazy psychopaths who are saying we can't speak about Palestine. Nobody's thinking about Palestine, and yet all they're doing all day long is blasting the airwaves with what's going on in Palestine, and most of it's fake, and the rest of us are responding. Thoughts?
Well, my first thought is that Bonnie Bertrand looked it up, the gullible thing, to prove that she's not gullible. So
Thank you.
That's the first thing. Yes, Bonnie, that is the joke, that you get people to look it up. There should have been a hint when my own girlfriend ratted me out in the chat and said, Mark, don't do it. Don't look it up. But since she wanted to do that, I'll tell you.
Wait a minute. Okay, so look, you really are taking advantage of my innocence and my naivete and trust of you as a human being. I trusted you at face value, and what did you do to me? You betrayed me. You wanted me to look up something in public which would embarrass me in front of everybody because you said something patently absurd.
Well, hold on. You were the one. Hold on.
You would have made an obvious joke.
But because once you say, when it was an obvious joke that Han Shaughnessy was the guy's real name, and you're like, oh, really? Once you do that, all bets are off, dude. I can't be held responsible.
I am.
But then the audience did it.
I believe everything.
And here's the thing. My girlfriend ratted me out. She says, Mark, don't do it. But here's the thing. You know how she knew? Because since she wanted to rat me out, because she fell for it. Now, here's the funny. Now, let me tell you this now. Here's something else you need to know.
Can't believe you're
Lee ratted us out. Lee says, oh, Mark and Mike, I had a driving lesson today, and my teacher said you're both idiots for driving and talking on your phones. So Lee went to the driving school and ratted us out. Now, back to these Jew haters.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So,
Here's the
you
thing. These
just
guys
lost me
are
there.
like obsessed with Israel because what they've learned is, and they can say all they want. I'm not responsible for the people in my chat. You are catering to these motherfuckers, right? So don't tell me that you're not responsible for the people in your chat. When I go into Martyr Maid's chats and I make a comment, or Dave Smith chats and make a comment, and then I get, oh, look at the last name, okay, Jew, and drawings of, caricatures of supposed Jews, and you're not telling them or blocking them, you're responsible. But these people, they've figured out that by catering to Jew hatred, they could get large audiences. And by the way, I'm not somebody saying here that any criticism of Israel is anti-Jew. I don't believe that. But I do believe that there's people who take their criticism of Israel and direct it in such a way as to gain the audience of the Jew haters. Candace Owens, case in point.
So cynical. It's so cynical and vile, although I think she's pathological. I don't think she's just cynical.
No, she's a kook. She's like, I think she's just maybe a sociopath.
She's gone off the deep end. And it felt like after she found religion, it took her in a different place. Not to blame religion for her psychopathy, but it seems like it took her into dark places. Akira Felix says Marx believes in everything, translates into Mark is gullible. Okay, I just have to make a comment about this for a second. There is an aspect of being an actor.
Oh my God! Here we go. Oh my God! Don't do this, Mark. Please don't give them the speech you gave me.
What?
But Mark, I'm trying to protect you because you gave me this.
You're saying that I gave this speech already?
You've told me the same crap. Don't put it out there.
I'm putting it out there right now.
Oh no. Okay, go ahead. Don't say I didn't try to protect you.
Why is it a danger?
Everybody, I want to see the comments after Mark gives his explanation. This is the explanation he gave for why he was afraid of Annabelle. So go ahead, Mark. Give your spiel.
Was it the same explanation?
Yeah. Go ahead.
How do you even know where I'm going?
Because you said the same thing. You see, I'm an actor. Anyone who's familiar with
know where I'm going with that.
Have you ever watched the show Friends?
Yes.
Persephone, if you're going to make the clips today, the out of context, you've got to find the episode of Friends where Joey Tribbiani justifies all his behaviors by saying, "See, I'm an actor." Because that's where we're going. So, Mark, go ahead and give your.
This is not where we're going. This is not where we're going. What I'm going to do is point out certain characteristics that actors share. All right. One of the reasons you see actors say incredibly stupid things in the public discourse is because they share a characteristic. All of us share this characteristic, which sometimes makes us susceptible to people who do predatory jokes like you, who attempted to embarrass and shame me in front of our audience. So that the characteristic that we all share is a childlike innocence. Okay, we are children because we play for a living like kids do. You could call that gullible, as Akira Felix so cynically does. It's also innocence, and it's trusting. You took this innocent, trusting 60-year-old man-child, and you tried to make a fool out of me in front of all of our esteemed watchers and listeners. Please hit like and subscribe, folks, while you're watching this. And also remember to share. Lee, you were my friend yesterday. Now you're becoming my enemy. Please remember to share this on YouTube as well through other social media sites so that we could spread the word. Yes, I agreed with everything you said with respect to this insane world that we're living in, where people are getting likes and they're getting clicks and they're finding thousands upon thousands of followers simply for expressing Jew hatred. It's absolutely crazy. But speaking of hatred and speaking of malignancy, we have a couple of articles on Trump and his over litigiousness, and one of the articles comes from Reason Magazine. Trump, who wants to straighten out the press, which is what he said. Did he say that during his campaign, or did he actually say that after he won the presidency? Which is a chilling statement in and of itself.
It is. It is hard to know. I don't, because you read things, he says things. It's the campaign. He's always in campaign mode, whether he's the president or a candidate. So it's very difficult to tell.
And he's definitely always throwing out red meat to his constituency, who have a deep distrust of the press for good reason. I think we should all distrust the establishment press. They have lied to us many, many, many times. But the president saying he wants to straighten out the press is different than a citizen saying, I think the press needs to be more honest. Anyway, he's suing the Wall Street Journal over a fake Epstein letter. Now, apparently there was a compilation of letters that was in a leather-bound volume saved by Epstein that I guess contained well wishes and birthday wishes from lots of his celebrity friends. And one of those that was apparently in there was one by Trump. Now, the description of the letter seems characteristically un-Trumpish to me. I mean, it's apparently a drawing of a silhouette of a naked woman with the Trump signature in the pubic area, signifying the pubic area, with some, strangely articulate lines about, may the next day bring us a new secret. It sounds too delicate and too thought out and even too literate to be Trump. But nonetheless, these reporters don't appear to have gotten this information in bad faith, despite the implications that they're trying to imply his relationship with Epstein went to the level of sexual exploitation. Local press is hosting a debate. Alex is participating tonight. Good, but wait, I want to interrupt our present conversation here to wish Alex good luck. He is running for office over there, the first American Capitalist Party candidate to run for local office. So hopefully Alex will kick butt, as they say, make the local politicians squirm, and perhaps win some affection for the American Capitalist Party over there down south. So anyway, good luck, Alex. We wish you the best. Break both legs, as they say in the acting world. So Trump is suing the Washington Post now. Of course, he sued
Wall Street Journal, Mark. Wall Street Journal, not the Washington Post. Senior moment.
I just didn't have the article right in front of me. Yeah, so I had a senior moment.
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, stop. So he also sued ABC. He also sued CBS, and he got settlements from those, both for $16 million apiece. Now, when large corporations like this settle, it's not necessarily an admission of guilt. It's because they don't want to go through the litigation process, which will cost them a lot of money. Now, in the case of a libel suit, or defamation lawsuit, the type that Trump is trying to bring, I know in the state of California they have an automatic slap suit, which means that the threshold of proof for malice of intent is so high, and if you cannot prove malice of intent, you are forced to pay the legal fees of the person that you're accusing of the libel. So the slap suits clearly are a way of discouraging these kinds of frivolous lawsuits, because they make the lawsuit very expensive. They open up all of your records to what they call disclosure, so that everything that you have ever said on social media or in your emails becomes potential fodder for use for the defendant in the case, not for you. Apparently, Trump doesn't worry about this kind of stuff, and using the office of the presidency as a lever is proven to be effective in at least a couple of cases, even the absurd one where they settled for $16 million despite having actually no case whatsoever. I'm interrupting this broadcast again to say Trustville Tribune is hosting it. They're on Facebook for sure. Last night's for other positions was live streamed. Okay, great.
Hold on.
Check it out. 5:30 Central Time, guys. So check it out if you can. 5:30 Central Time. Watch him debate and hopefully defeat the candidates wholeheartedly. So now, what do you think of this chilling habit that Trump has of suing people while president of the United States when they say things he doesn't like?
Well, he has been suing for quite some time.
4,000 lawsuits in 30 years.
Yes. Is that really 4,000? Oh
Lawsuits
my
and
God. But yeah, that's his thing. And the author of the article, someone I respect a lot. I've been reading him for years. I've interviewed him a couple times, and he does his best to be objective and said, a case could be made when George Stephanopoulos referred to Trump as saying he was convicted in civil court of rape when actually it was sexual abuse. So technically it's wrong, but by and large, this is just garbage. I mean, first of all, the main thing that when it comes to these types of lawsuits is you have to show damage to reputation. This is one of the reasons that I, for instance, would have a very difficult time winning a defamation suit, because I would have to show that you've damaged my reputation, and then all somebody has to do is bring up my criminal history and say, what reputation? And in this case, it's this thing that Trump evidently, or reportedly, or was accused of writing to Epstein. It's a known fact they were friends. There's pictures everywhere of them together. We know that they're buddies. So how does it hurt him? It's not like Trump didn't say anything worse than what he said on the Access Hollywood tape. Right. So how is it going to damage his reputation? All this type of stuff does is puts a freeze on the press. The press deserves criticism, yes, and we can use our free speech to criticize them without trying to curb their free speech.
Yeah. Okay. So you're right. Now, when we heard that, did you say Access Hollywood? That was the one where the tape was going, and he talked about grabbing women's stuff. Well,
yeah. That's making it in the clip.
It is. So that is typical Trump, right? That kind of crass rudeness. In this apparent love note to maybe I'll get sued now for saying love note, because Trump may try to sue me for saying love note, but there's an apparent dialogue between the two characters, and the dialogue, I'm going to describe it right here, and you tell me if this sounds like Trump after the Access Hollywood leak. The dialogue described by the Journal, the Donald character says, "We have certain things in common," and the Jeffrey character concurs. Both men are enigmas who never seem to age. They agree and both understand there's more to life than having everything. According to the Journal, the dialogue concludes with a message from Donald. "A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." That simply does not sound Donald Trumpish to me. Does it sound Donald Trumpish to you?
Not really, but it also is possible that he paid somebody to write it. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't think it doesn't sound like him. If all you're asking is, does this sound like something that I've heard?
Which may be his plausible deniability, right? He could plausibly say, "I didn't write this thing," because he paid somebody else to do it. He might have signed it in the pubic area, but he certainly didn't write it. Anyway, we all know that the lawsuit is frivolous, and do you think this will end in another settlement just to avoid the millions upon millions upon millions of dollars that it would take for them to litigate this thing?
I don't know, because Rupert Murdoch certainly has some deep pockets himself, and he's, would be part of the suit, and I don't know if he would cave. That's what it takes. When you're dealing with a bully, it takes somebody to stand up to that bully.
Exactly.
And lately, Trump's been bullying a lot of people. He bullies Congress. He gets away with it. He bullies the media. He gets away with it. So hopefully somebody stands up to him. Maybe it'll be the Wall Street Journal.
Well, yeah, he certainly named a lot of people in there that have deep pockets in the case. So this is a James Valiant question. Maybe they can countersue him. Can the president be countersued? Or is he coming from a position of complete invulnerability in that case?
Well, the court ruled in the case of Paula Jones and Bill Clinton that the president can be sued.
Very good. And this isn't overturned by the recent ruling that anything they
This has to do, as far as I know, with criminal liability for official acts.
Okay. Fine. So perhaps he'll be countersued, and I don't know that that'll stop him. He doesn't seem to be a man who stops bad habits.
No, he does not.
4,000 cases in 30 years is not a habit that one can easily break. And I'm going to say something here that's just hearsay, and I just want to say it off the bat that it's hearsay so that Trump doesn't sue me. But I did hear that he does regularly stiff contractors, or did when he was a builder.
I've heard that as well.
Okay, so we've heard this. This is hearsay. We're just saying what other people have told us. We don't know this firsthand. But when the contractors would come to him for payment, his answer to them would be, sue me. Now, this is a guy who's supposed to stand for the blue collar worker, for that very contractor who's out there trying to make a living for his family, helping him, put in the electricity or the plumbing for the buildings that this guy builds. He not only underpays them, but refuses to pay them in some cases, which in my view is criminal, but it's only hearsay. We don't know this for a fact. Another article from Reason magazine, Trump should kill the Commanders Stadium deal, but not because of the team's name. So once again, Trump is inserting himself into another imbroglio that has nothing to do with him, and doing the right thing for the wrong reasons. Now, we, of course, have evidence of this when he started withholding funding from Harvard University and the University of Pennsylvania and Columbia for their anti-Semitic perspectives, for their failure to fight anti-Semitism. He didn't withhold funds because it's simply inappropriate for the government to fund private universities. He withheld them because they were refusing to comply with his wishes. That's a very different psychology. The first person who withholds funds because, one, they're being fiscally responsible governors, and two, they understand that there is no constitutional space for the government to fund these private institutions. There can be no real case made for them. There's a psychological difference between that cat and the dude that says, you're not doing what I want you to do, so I'm not going to give you the money. Right. And this is precisely what's happening in this case. In this case, we have a stadium that's being built where the very wealthy owner of the Commanders puts up something like 2/3 of the money, and then the taxpayers in the region put up the rest. So if the thing's going to cost $3.7 billion, he puts up $2.7 billion, and the taxpayers foot the bill for the rest. Now, the problem is, in pretty much every case where these stadiums, are built, they are, of course, a boon for the politicians because, of course, it's the seen-unseen fallacy that we are confronting here. It gives them lots of prestige. It gives the city prestige. Unfortunately, it doesn't tend to create more jobs. It doesn't really create an economic boom for the people at the bottom rungs or even the middle rungs of the economic ladder. It tends to cost them lots of money. And it certainly enriches the team. It enriches the owners. But it doesn't really do a lot for the community, as they say. Now, Trump, in typical fashion, was supportive of this at one time, I think when the Washington Commanders were called the Redskins. But now he's all up in arms that they're not the Redskins anymore. And he's not going to help release the funds. In fact, he's going to try to impede them until they change their name to the Redskins from the Commanders, which, of course, the owner has said emphatically they will not do. What do you think of this? More Mussolini-esque, and this is just my opinion. This is not the opinion of the American Capitalist Party, but certainly it has the ring of authoritarianism, don't you think?
It does, but there's something. First of all, let me just say that the day of my life when I'm concerned about what sports teams are going to call themselves, just pack me off. I'm done at that point. But it's this idea that because something takes place within the United States, it belongs to all of us. That it's a very collectivist premise. Our sports teams are changing their names. They're caving to woke. They're our sports teams. Our Cleveland Indians are now the Cleveland Guardians, I think they're called.
Yes.
So it's a deep-seated belief in collectivism that is, I believe, at the root of the problem. But then you have Trump's totalitarianism coming into play. It's not your business, Donald, what teams call themselves. But for these teams, it's not the taxpayer's job to build you stadiums. So I think that the article hit it spot on, that you need to oppose these things out of principle, that it's not the government's job to be building stadiums.
Indeed, it isn't. Leave it up to the owners and the teams to foot the bill for it, and certainly not the American taxpayer. It's not their responsibility. So again, the right thing being done for absolutely the wrong reasons. Now, way back when energy, when I guess the environmentalist movement started really winning the debate with respect to renewable energy over fossil fuels, and when that started to dominate the culture, the political culture, as well as our social culture, and everybody thought it was virtuous to get an EV and to go off fossils. There was a guy named Epstein who came out with a book called The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels, an objectivist, I might add, a philosopher from Duke University, who was a voice saying something very different. And he started defining terms in such a way that it was impossible to ignore the logic of his reasoning. One of the things he noted about the environmentalist movement was that its standard was raw, untouched nature, when its standard should be human thriving. Now, the American Capitalist Party does have an environmentalist position, and our standard is human thriving, not raw, untouched nature. That human thriving, of course, is itself founded upon the foundation of individual rights. So it comes out now that we've developed over the last 5 to 10 years AI, right? Artificial intelligence, another thing that we are grappling with as a party with respect to what that means with respect to rights. But there's something about ChatGPT, Grok, all these various AI modems that is particularly onerous to environmentalists. It uses a lot of energy. Just ChatGPT on its own. I think one of the examples, it said just asking one question to ChatGPT from one person uses enough energy to power 17 LED light bulbs for an hour or something like that. It's incredible. And when you combine that with the millions upon millions of uses, not just individual uses, asking questions, writing papers, but now for military infrastructure, medicine, and it's literally going to be one of the most important revolutions in industrial history is the advent of AI. It's going to revolutionize every aspect of human life, and we cannot allow this revolution to take place on renewable energy, otherwise known as unreliable energy. Wind and solar ain't going to cut it. We need fossils or something better, possibly nuclear, in order to power these things. And when you read about how they're powered, they have these incredible stations, generate a great deal of heat. They need a lot of water to cool them down. We need an incredible amount of power to do that. And as Epstein has said, look, whatever the Earth gives us, we need more power, not less, to overcome it. And ChatGPT is showing us that if we want to advance in AI, which I think it's vital to the human race and to human thriving, we need more power, not less. What say you about that?
Years ago, I read an article in Ideas on Liberty from the Foundation for Economic Education. And the article was called Equating at the Margins by a guy named Dwight Lee. And I don't remember the exact example he gave, but it prompted my own thinking on this exact subject. And it occurred to me that if you take the automobile, for instance, and you say, well, look at all the carbon dioxide that the automobile is shooting into the atmosphere. This is bad, right? Okay, but what about the other side of the ledger? What about the ambulance? How much carbon dioxide is the ambulance emitting into the atmosphere? But at the same time, it gets you from point A to point B in enough time to save your life if you're having a stroke, a heart attack, or whatever. And you have to look at it that way, that on balance, these things are good for life. And Alex's approach is that life is the standard. So he's a pro-human life. That's his perspective. And his point is that these other folks, these environmentalists, ultimately are anti-life. They elevate the earth for the earth's sake, not as an as a means to human flourishing, but just Mother Earth. It's just wonderful. And I'm not somebody that says that these things don't pollute or, there's no downsides. But I think that Alex is correct when he argues that, yes, but the solutions to these problems will be solved by the fossil fuels. Yeah, and I think that's absolutely correct. I mean, just look at the AI thing. Who knows what's coming down the pike as a result of AI that'll help us, with global warming or any other environmental problems.
Indeed, and for that we need more energy. Kira Felix says, just one guy. Alex is probably the most recognized objectivist out there. I've seen socialists quote him. Alex is the Alice Cooper of objectivism. If I ever meet Alice Cooper again, I'm going to tell him that and see if he knows what that even means.
I don't know why Alice Cooper. Why is he the Alice Cooper?
Well, because Alice Cooper is a legend, and he's
no Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, come on.
What?
Come on.
And he is just one guy. He's still just one guy.
His rock was performative, I think, in a way that it was in a way that Ozzy's, it was just different. Ozzy was just a bad boy, right? Who did weird things on stage.
What?
Alice Cooper was performative.
Have you lost it?
Yes.
Black Sabbath, dude. Black Sabbath in the 70s.
Dude.
Ozzy's solo career.
You weren't even alive when Black Sabbath was.
I wasn't alive when Elvis was out either. I know he was the king.
I was. Well, because people told you.
So what? I can still hear his music. I can still listen to Johnny Cash. I've listened to A Boy Named Sue. I wasn't around when they made it.
Boy Named Sue is great. Ring of Fire is great. But I like some Johnny Cash, but you can't say Johnny Cash.
I think Alice Cooper does predate Sabbath, but I think Ozzy is so much beyond Alice Cooper, both as a musician and as a pop figure.
Not as a musician.
Yes, as a musician.
Terrible singer. Come on, man.
What?
Yes.
What about the lyrical content?
I hate his lyrics.
Alice Cooper that's insane. King of 1,000 Nights, pawn in a fight, losing to you. Come on.
All right.
This is just getting. I can't even believe I'm here.
I am not a fan of Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy Osbourne does have great guitarists like Randy Rhoads, whom he killed, by the way.
He did not kill. This is ridiculous.
Ozzy's voice is not super cool. It's put through a bunch of mixers. It sounds like somebody's squeezing.
Oh no, it's not.
Man, it's not good.
I'm gonna ask.
Who has a good voice? Who has a good voice? Like
Axl Rose.
Axl, come on.
What are you talking about?
Axl Rose sounds like Ethel Merman.
Axl Rose can throw his voice. There's so many different versions of his voice.
He used to do a little, but a little wouldn't do it, so a little got more and more.
You don't sound anything like him. This is crazy.
I just can kind of get a little better, said a little better than before. Persephone's getting
what's the song about?
Material today.
We're gonna ask, right?
What's the song Mr. Brownstone about?
Yeah,
heroin. Okay, It's about heroin.
My dad loved that song.
It's a great song. Okay, it's a great song. It's look, and Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses is better than Ozzy Osbourne. Sorry.
They have three albums.
And they're still better than Ozzy Osbourne. Look, all right, and the entire point of this conversation was to say that we need more energy in order to power AI. If we want human thriving, we want more energy and we want AI. Does somebody agree with the Beatles? And then there is everyone else. See, I agree with that too. But then one of my musician friends says there's not a single sexy Beatles song out there. And so that disqualifies the Beatles. But if you listen to the Stones or say Led Zeppelin, there's tons of sexy songs. What do you think about that, Larry? I mean, to me, the Beatles are the top, number one. Numero uno.
Did you just call me Larry?
Larry Green in the chat was saying there's everyone else, which I tend to agree with. Persephone says the list of timestamps is so long already. I can see it now. This show is going to be almost exclusively in Persephone's camp today.
Ozzy Osbourne is the bigger star overall due to higher sales, broader cultural impact through media, and a slight edge in current popularity. Yeah. Alice Cooper, while a legend with immense influence, has a more specialized legacy.
Yes. It was rock drama, man. Rock drama.
I don't
He had
care
a
what you call it.
different thing. It wasn't
Ozzy's
just
better.
no. I don't look. I don't think eating ants off the floor, biting the heads off of bats is interesting at
He
all.
didn't even know it was a real bat. That's such a cheap shot.
Oh, so he was so hammered or so on drugs, he didn't know that what he was had in his hand was an actual bat.
It was a dead bat that somebody threw
This
onto the stage.
is disgusting.
It is
I'm
disgusting.
sorry. Yes.
Motley Crue is not even in this discussion.
Okay. Motley Crue deserves to be in the discussion.
No, they don't.
Absolutely, they deserve to
No
be in
way.
the discussion.
No.
I'm sorry. Now we're dealing with rock and roll taste that is very questionable. All right.
Once you get it, say Motley Crue, when you're talking about Black Sabbath, it's like you might as well.
But that's right. He snorted ants. That's right. He didn't eat ants. He snorted them. That's even worse. I saw him in Brazil, in Sao Paulo. I should have gone up to him and said hello, because
let's just resolve this one thing. Akira Felix was wrong. If you're gonna say Alex Epstein is anybody, you should say that he is the Ozzy Osbourne, not the Alice Cooper. Let's also resolve that Lee is crazy to bring up.
Look, no. You can say he is the Beatles or the Rolling Stones of objectivism. You cannot say the Ozzy Osbourne. Are you actually going to put Ozzy Osbourne on the level of the Beatles or the Rolling Stones?
I'll tell you something interesting.
Go ahead.
Ozzy Osbourne talked about how he basically, he idolized the Beatles. And somebody said to him, I forget who the reporter was, but that's crazy, Ozzy, because to you, because you're a deity to some people. And Ozzy's response was, yes, but even Jesus worshiped God.
That's good.
All right, get to the next story. I'm getting stressed out.
You're stressing me out, and we're putting a lot of fodder out for Persephone today. Look, psychology today.
By the way, can I just thank Persephone because what she did yesterday was wonderful.
That was funny. That was funny. Look, one of the things that I think objectivism needs, and this has nothing to do with the Psychology Today article that you got me, which I'm going to talk about in a second. I think objectivists need to be able to laugh at themselves and laugh more in general. And I think we're examples of people who can laugh, have fun, laugh at each other, laugh at ourselves.
Most importantly, laugh at Mark.
And what is this? I'm the whipping boy. I'm the whipping post. Is that what it is? I don't mind. I can take it. Yes,
you can take being whipped.
Meant to mean you are the only one here that doesn't like the Beatles, and that says something about your taste. I'm sorry, it does speak to your taste. Okay, so Psychology Today: tribalism overwhelms reason because it keeps us safe. Do you want to talk about this article a little bit? Because we've been getting nothing but tribalism today.
No, we're getting individualism at its best as people give their own favorite musicians. So the author says there is some truth to what he says, right? That there's safety in your tribe. The problem is that it's in evolution. We're not evolved for the modern world. We're evolved for a time when, what did if I forget what Andy Bernstein called him? Nanook, the caveman, is going to come bash you over your head. So you needed tribal safety. The problem is that we are not living in that world. We need to rely on our reason, and we need to rely on rationality. And that doesn't rule out friendships or forming groups, but tribalism means that you say the tribe is right, regardless of what they're doing. But I will say this, I've developed quite a few friends now since I've been out of prison that are in the objectivist world. My friendship with Brett McCall and Carlos Reboldo is largely built on objectivist principles. So if all of a sudden I was to come out and say, you know what, I'm no longer an objectivist, I no longer, I just think Ayn Rand was wrong. If I were to say that, right, all of a sudden my whole world changes.
Yes.
so you can't, I mean, it's easy to just sort of slough that off and say, well, tribalism's bad, but people do face that very real possibility. So if you're say, you grew up Christian, your whole family's Christian, your whole community's Christian, you're a Christian, you marry a Christian wife, you're raising Christian kids, and then all of a sudden you come to the conclusion, you know what, this Christianity is not true. I'm going to step back from it. You're going to, face the very real possibility of losing everybody that's ever been a part of your life. That's scary. And I don't think that we do anybody any favors by just saying, just get over it. And I'm looking at myself because I have that tendency to do that. When somebody expresses a very real fear, I'll say, who cares? Like, why do you even care what somebody thinks? Just, move beyond that. But for that person, it's a very real thing, and there can be very real consequences. So I think that it's better to use reason, obviously. I think we need to move toward individuation where our own people, our own individual selves, where we can pick and choose our friends based on, a value affinity. But I think it's important to recognize that there are people out there that are struggling with tribalism, with a desire for approval, and with the very real possibility of losing people in their lives if they turn away from their current belief systems.
Oh, I absolutely understand that. As the redheaded stepchild of Supernatural, as the crazy uncle in the room who thinks very differently than all of my castmates and a lot of Hollywood and a great deal of the fandom, it does feel lonely out there sometimes. You do need, we're individualists, but even individualists need that mirror, need that reflection. Yes, redheaded. No, never. I'm not even going to deal with that one right now. Because I wasn't redheaded, Michael. I wasn't redheaded. It was a trick of light at the time. But I understand what it feels like to be out there alone. And it takes a gigantic soul to be able to do that, to be able to handle that. That's why Howard Roark, in a way, was a giant. He was a moral giant because he truly did need the approval of other people. But the rest of us folks, poor folks, maybe not you included, Michael, I'll just talk about myself. We do need some level of reflection from other people that we're okay, that we're decent, that we're on the right track. And when you get now the magnification of social media telling you the opposite, it's a very difficult psychological thing to overcome. So being tribalists and being out there in the open and exposed and vulnerable to attack, it does feel very primal in nature. But I want to encourage others, as an individualist myself who faces this on a daily basis, potentially being ostracized by my business for the things that I believe, even though I'm good at what I do and I'm fun to work with, I'm a team player. It still doesn't mean that I'm going to get work because people take their tribalism very seriously, and I'm the anti-tribalist. So I want to encourage everyone out there to join me in my misery.
I'm glad you mentioned Howard Roark, because there's a reason when you read that novel, Roark is the hero, right? Yeah. And John Galt is the hero. And like, we've had a conversation before about the Gazans, for instance, who are anti-Hamas. They don't like Hamas. And people will say, well, they should just rise up then and fight them. And that's an act of heroism to do that. Your average person does not have that kind of fortitude or that kind of courage and strength. And that's why we applaud it when we see it, because we know it's a rare thing. Now, it doesn't mean we can't all rise to that level, but we're not all there now. And it takes time and it takes effort to achieve it. Ayn Rand talked about in our cultural value deprivation that, to maintain a high level of integrity and intellect, that sort of thing. I don't remember the exact word she used, but she says it basically takes a spiritual giant. And when we read that, my friend Brent McCall said, well, the thing to do then is become a spiritual giant. And I agree with that 100%. But I think we do need to recognize that that takes time and effort and courage to do. It's not something that just happens because we happen to say, oh, we shouldn't care what others think.
Yeah, because you not only risk your identity and the values that you held dear before, you risk your livelihood, you risk your very life, as a matter of fact. A difficult thing to lose. Um, Akira Felix says, I unironically like Gene Simmons a lot. Akira, I do as well. And although not necessarily for his music, I will agree also with that. And you'll have to remember, Akira, that Gene Simmons did write Christine 16. Uh, uh, on that note, let's go to Hollywood, shall we? And the rap.
I wish I could. If I could afford it, I'd go. I'm a Swiftie, Lee. I love Taylor Swift.
Oh my God, that explains everything. Founders Films. There's Founders Films, rights-leaning Hollywood production company backed by Palantir execs, seeks investors. So now they are trying to. I guess they're going to join forces with Shapiro's media company, and they're going to start doing what they consider to be right-leaning material that doesn't really get a place out there in Hollywood. More heroic stuff, throwbacks to the pre-70s era and pre-60s era when film took a turn for the decidedly anti-heroic, more like the Rockies, the Rocky Fours, where Stallone really was trying to bring back the hero that he thought was lost in American cinema. And these folks are going to try to do the same thing. Now, I had a bit of a problem with this, not only because they claim to be doing this three-part Atlas Shrugged thing, which they stole from us, I just have to say, but because they're not starting with narratives. They're not starting with stories. They're starting with a political agenda first. And I don't see how you can make a production company like that based on stories that are didactic in nature. Nobody wants to be preached to. In fact, one of the things that bothers me most about Atlas Shrugged, the book, as great a book as it is, it's didactic. And I don't like being preached to, even though she's preaching a philosophy that, she's thinking through for the first time, in a sense, making conscious for the first time. And we need to know what it's all about. It's still didactic, and it still doesn't make for necessarily good drama, especially filmically. And so if these people
filmically,
especially as I made that word up, okay? I made the word up. So if these people are going to start first with a political agenda that they want to push forward, as opposed to just good storytelling, I don't project that this is going to go very far. Just like I didn't think the Daily Wire is going to do a good job with Atlas Shrugged, because they were the ones that got the contract, right, over us, because we didn't have the production company, and they're going to rewrite. They're going to do basically. They're going to. They're going to do what was done badly in the three other previous films, I think, in my opinion. So what do you think of this? Starting with a political agenda as a way of starting a production company?
I would like it better if it were a philosophical agenda. What I mean by that is if we started off with a very broad idea of making, romantic realism into films, as Ayn Rand put it. I just mentioned the cultural value deprivation. If we started off and we said we want to promote stories that are pro-life, that are pro-humans as heroes, that are pro-achievement, that sort of thing, but making them specifically political is narrow. And also from reading the article, it seems that they're going to focus on political narratives, like specifically American Republican versus Democrat garbage that I'm not really into. And to see Rand thrown into that is a little disappointed to me. I do think that it would be good for somebody with a good philosophy to do this, though, because I think that long term, the films people watch, the books they read, they convey lessons, whether they're didactic or not. They convey lessons, and I think that's a good way to influence culture. I don't think that this specific one is going to hit the mark.
I think that good stories convey lessons sort of accidentally, though. It should feel accidental. The narrative comes first. The story comes first. Good storytelling comes first. It shouldn't. They're putting the cart before the horse, and I think that's doomed to fail. I can respect the desire to see heroic stories, though, but they're clearly pushing a right-wing patriotic narrative that
You froze.
I froze. I haven't frozen to myself.
Well, I wouldn't imagine you'd freeze to yourself, but you froze to me.
Okay. Well, they're pushing that right wing. They're pushing a right wing patriotic narrative instead of just telling good heroic stories. And I hope they focus on that. I hope they change their focus a little bit. Focus on telling good stories about heroes, and then they might have something. Until then, I'm not so sure about this venture. So we have just enough time for your capitalist thought of the day because it is your turn.
It is my turn, and I won't try to deny it because I don't do that. When it's my turn, I own up to it and I take responsibility.
To do.
Now, but we got a few minutes left. Is there nothing else that we can mention or talk or anything else?
We've got 4 minutes left. You want to try to squeeze another article in 4 minutes?
We've got 4 minutes and 44 seconds left.
4 minutes and 44 seconds left. Yes, we can squeeze another article in.
Make it a brief one.
Okay, this is Trump's one big beautiful bill, which I always have to.
What about the other Psychology Today article? I send you those things so we can have some.
So read. Why don't you talk about that one, because that one I didn't read.
Oh my goodness, I don't even remember what it was.
It is the psychology of becoming who you want to be.
Yes. The idea in that article is that if we picture a life that we want to have, we start becoming the type of person that lives in that life. So, if you want to be a successful person, you start becoming the kind of person that earns success, this type of person that has confidence, the type of person that works hard, puts forth a good work ethic. And when you set that as your goal, you'll start to change and you'll start to become what you want to be. And I think it's very important. I heard a quote the other day from, what the hell was his name? Will Packer. Is that his name? The guy that produced Straight Outta Compton and Ride Along? Will Packer. You know him? No?
You froze.
I think you froze, not me. But Will Packer, anyway, and Will Packer said something to the effect, I might get the quote a little wrong, but he said that if you want what others don't have, you have to be willing to do what others won't do. And I think that that's absolutely true. And I think if that's the goal in life is to have all the things that you want, start becoming the kind of person that gets it, that gets those things. And my capitalist thought of the day now, Lee says we both froze. Okay, well, that's probably Mark's fault. But actually, it's probably mine. It's something to do with my router or whatever the hell it is that connects us to these things. But the capitalist thought of the day has to do with tribalism, and it has to do with individualism. And the fact of the matter is that individualism does not preclude friendships. It does not preclude communities. In fact, I would say that individualism forms the proper basis for communities, because in order to have a good community, I need to respect the individuality of everybody else, and they need to respect my individuality. And we all need to understand that our associations are voluntary, that I don't owe my time, my energy, my intelligence to anybody, and nor do they owe theirs to me. That we come together when we want because we happen to like each other and like each other's company. That is the proper basis for community. It's the proper basis for friendship. And then it's ultimately the proper basis for society.
I like that a lot. Yes, that is true, folks. And we're going to end on that fantastic note. And we're going to be here, same bat time, same bat place tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. Remember to like, subscribe before you exit. Individualism doesn't mean being alone, but it does mean you have to be okay with being alone in order to stay true to yourself and your values. Absolutely true from our esteemed secretary, Ariana. Thank you very much for that thought. That's true as well. So you have 23 hours to check your premises, folks. If you're not individualists by this point, get on the train already, man, because the train is departing tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. Until that time, love life, and we'll see you then. Peace.